my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the spooky books that I'm hoping to read in October. October is always such a, I don't want to say a hard time, but it's a time when I really think about the books that I want to read. Because if you've been here for any amount of time, you know Halloween is my favorite holiday. Out of all the holidays, I am obsessed with it. I love fall, I love Halloween, and I just want to make sure that I'm reading the spookiest reads for the spookiest month. So I always try to take a little bit of extra time to think about what I really want to read, the kind of vibes that I want to give myself for the Halloween season. So with that in mind, I carefully curated my TBR for the month, and I'm really excited about these reads. So the first book that we're going to talk about I've actually had on my TBR shelf for a couple of years, and it is by Therese Pamplioni, and that is The Unwelcome Child. So this one I've actually just started to read, and so far I'm not 100% sure if it's what I necessarily thought it was going to be, but I guess we will see. I'm going to read you the synopsis of all of these books because I always end up just butchering the synopsis when I try to rephrase it in my own way. So it says, the old Victorian home stands at the top of a hill overlooking Martha's Vineyard, nestled in a forest of green pines and a rainbow of wildflowers, just a stone's throw away from the beach. It was Jan Hostetter's dream to convert the 3-story house into a bed and breakfast. But she gladly surrenders that dream when a miracle occurs. She becomes pregnant. For years, doctors told Jan she was incapable of conceiving, but now she and her husband have been doubly blessed with a child on the way and the perfect place to raise a family. Annie Wojcicko is in Martha's Vineyard to help out and share in Jan's happiness. But as the due date draws near, Annie's concern for her best friend grows. The pregnancy has left Jan frail and without an appetite. She's become superstitious, covering every mirror in her home and refusing to leave under any circumstances, fearing her baby will die if she does. And as Annie learns the violent history of the house, she comes to realize that what is growing in Jan's body isn't a miracle at all, but a mother's most terrifying nightmare. So like I said, I've started to read this one already, and one thing that I'm noticing a lot that wasn't in the synopsis whatsoever is that there's quite a bit of talk about abortions. There's a lot of anti-abortion rhetoric. There is pro-life rhetoric too. It kind of like goes back and forth. But there's quite a bit of talk about whether abortions are moral or not, or it just seems to be taking up a lot of the book so far, which I find kind of strange because it wasn't mentioned at all in the synopsis. So I'm not 100% sure this is necessarily what I thought it was, because when I read that synopsis, it sounds like a scary house story, but also the book is called The Unwelcome Child. So to me, it's like, okay, is this child, like, is this a Damien sort of situation? Like, is this a, possessed child or something like that? Is this woman, like, going to be bearing the Antichrist? That's what I'm thinking. But then from the synopsis, I'm getting that it's more about a haunted house. But then now that I'm actually starting to read it, it might be something completely different. So make sure you tune in next month to figure out whether I liked this, what it ended up being about when I talk about it in my wrap-up. But next we are going to talk about, I always try to read an Agatha Christie book in Halloween. She's just, the queen of mysteries, and I always really enjoy her work, so I always try to save an Agatha Christie book for October. And this year we're going to be reading By the Pricking of My Thumbs. So this one says, when Tommy and Tuppence visit an elderly aunt in her Gothic nursing home, they think nothing of her mistrust of the doctors. After all, Ada is a very difficult old lady. But when Mrs. Lockett mentions a poisoned mushroom stew and Mrs. Lancaster talks about something behind the fireplace, Tommy and Tuppence find themselves caught in a spine-chilling adventure which could spell either of them for death. So that one sounds awesome. I always end up loving whatever I pick up from Agatha Christie. And there's still a few that I haven't read, so this being one of them. I'm interested about this house, anything spooky houses, haunted houses. That's always something that I absolutely love reading. Okay, so next I have a thriller that I think is going to be really, really good. I'm definitely wanting to read a few more thrillers so that I can give you guys some good recommendations for this month. And this one is called The Furies, and it's by Katie Lowe. The synopsis for this one says, on the grounds of Elm Hollow Academy, a girl is found dead. She's posed on a swing on her boarding school's property, dressed all in white, with no known cause of death. Whispers and rumors swirl with no answers. But there are 3 girls who know the truth, who will never forget what happened. 1 year earlier, a new student, Violet, steps on the campus. Desperate to fit in, she soon finds herself invited to an advanced study group led by her alluring and mysterious art teacher. There, she falls in with 3 girls who comprise the school's most elusive in crowd, as they delve into the school's long-buried grim history of violence and untapped power. But the more their teacher tries to warn the girls off the topic, the more they are drawn to it, and the possibility that they can harness that power for themselves. As the girls' actions take a turn for the darker, Violet begins to wonder how far her new friends will go to protect one another, or to destroy one another. That sounds really good. This one seems like it could be a witchy read. It could have something to do with the haunted school. It could have something to do with this teacher. I don't know. Next is a book by Maren Toffels called Fright Night, and it's just it's more of a novella, I think, really, than anything. Let's see, how many pages is it? It is, why is this not numbered? These pages aren't numbered. What's happening? There we go. It's 196 pages, so it's more of a novella. And it says, get ready to scream. Sophia isn't so sure about Fright Night. When she suggested it to her friends, she was only thinking of it as an excuse to get closer to Dylan. Now that it's happening, she's worried that spending the night in a remote forest is a bad idea. But it's totally safe. There's even a safe word if things get too intense. And they do. Sophia and her friends are forced to face their greatest fears, and suddenly it's too late to turn back. So next, I really went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to read this for this month, because I'm always wanting to read like new things to get you guys, you know, some good recommendations. And so part of me was like, well, maybe I shouldn't carry on with this series because it's going to be a book that I'm reading that I'm not going to be able to, like, it's not a new recommendation, right? I have been gushing over Carrie Maniscalco's Stalking Jack the Ripper since I read it, and I'm really wanting to pick up the second book, and that is Hunting Prince Dracula. But I just kind of figured to myself, I was like, well, if I'm just going to continue on in the series, it's not really something new that I can recommend to you guys, right? Because I've already recommended the first book in the series. But I'm really excited because I really, really enjoyed the first one, and I think that this vibe is exactly what I'm wanting for the holiday season, for, you know, spooky season. So this is the second book, and in it we continue to follow our main characters. And it says, a man impaled by a sharp wooden stake, a young chambermaid drained of her blood. They say it's Prince Dracula arisen from the dead. I say it's the living, not the dead, we should fear the most. So I'm thinking that our main characters are just going to carry on trying to find out what's going on. In the last book, they were trying to solve the mystery of who Jack the Ripper was and catch him, and now they're going to be trying to figure out who is doing these murders, and kind of trying to copycat the Prince Dracula murders. So I'm really excited about this one. I really love the first one, so I'm hoping the second one's going to be as good. So next is a book that I'm thinking is going to be about more of a possession. So this is going to be more, probably the scariest book on this list, I'm assuming. And even the cover creeps me out. It's by Carly Ann West, and it's called The Murmurings. Look at how creepy that cover is. This girl freaks me out. It says, the faucet drips, the rhythm is steady, and soon my heart begins to beat in time with it. Then there is nothing. It's as if all the sound is pulled from the bathroom with the intake of a breath. After a moment, sound returns. Murmuring. It's so close, yet I can't make out the words. I try to tell myself that the murmuring isn't getting louder, more insistent. I tell myself it's not happening more frequently. And mostly, I tell myself that I didn't see the mirror start to ripple where my face was, as if something was behind the glass trying to get out. How creepy does that one sound? Once again, I've had this on my TBR for a long time too, and this one sounds really scary. It reminds me of the scariest book that I've ever read, which is Closer by Sarah Gran. And I'm wondering if it's going to be something kind of like that, kind of like if you like this, you'll like this sort of idea. So I'm excited to read this one for Halloween as well. All right, you guys, so those are 6 books that I am hoping to get through this month for the Halloween season. Make sure you drop me a line and let me know in the comments down below what you're reading for Halloween, because I always love like lots of spooky book recommendations. So make sure you let me know what you're reading. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so, but you do enjoy my content. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. Give a like and a share, a comment. All that stuff really helps with my engagement, and I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, anyways, I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I hope you're having a wonderful October, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!